Good day and welcome back to A's for Addict. This is going to be book 9. Let me start off by saying it's not going to be an easy book to do. It's not going to be an easy book to put across the actual emotion. It is quite difficult. You would have seen going into book 9 that there's an age restriction because there is a bit of heavy content that I need to talk about. Everybody watching will be among the first few to actually hear the story I'm about to tell about Susan. I haven't really spoken about her or about this next chapter to anybody. It's something that I've held in for pretty long. I possibly should have got help for it a long time ago, which I never did. But yes, let's get into book number 9. So, when I stopped last, I was telling you that my friend Clint took me through to Joburg Mortuary because I believed that one of the bodies there might have been Susan, because although she had stayed away at times for a night or 2 nights, it had never been this long, and it was way too long for Susan to have not come back or not contacted me. So when I got there, I explained them my situation and told them what I'm looking for and that I had made the call and what I had been told, and they said to me, alright, they have a photo album of the recent bodies and all that have come in. I need to look through there to see if I can identify her, which I was willing to do. So at the front desk, just simply at a reception desk, I waited. They brought me a book. This photo album must have been, it couldn't have been an A4 size, I think it must have been an A3 size. It was about, you're looking at about that thick, about 100 mil thick, and just full of recent photos of people that had passed, from front to back, double-sided, more than one photo on each page. So I started paging through this morbid photo album to see if anything comes up. Obviously the whole time praying and hoping that it's not, that nothing like that, it's not possible for something like that to happen to me, as bad as our lives were. So I started paging, and I paged and paged, and my hopes grew higher and higher as I turned the pages. I got a quarter of the way, nothing. I got halfway, still nothing. I kept on paging. I'm sure I was making silly, morbid jokes at the time as well. Page, and unfortunately, at about a couple of pages towards the end of the book, I turned the page, and if I close my eyes, I can picture it clearly. Turning the page, left hand side, bottom, there I saw a picture of my first wife, Susan. The gruesome fact of going to identify a body like that is that the photos are taken as they found the bodies. I don't know if it's for some lawful aspect of finding bodies or what the reasoning is, but they take the photos as they find the bodies before the bodies have been touched or moved, and those are the photos that they put into this book for you to identify. So Susan's body, the photo of it was taken as she was found. It was raining that evening. So everything was covered with water. Her hair was stringy and it was hanging in her face. She was totally naked. She had no clothes on her, and sorry, but this is very morbid. The way she was placed, the way they had found her still posed or placed on her hands and knees. Susan had been, she she obviously had been abused. So I identified her from there, and then after closing the book, still probably because of shock, I told them that I need to actually see her body. So they said, all right, what I need to do is I need to go out the back of the building and go through the side gate. They'll meet me there to show me. When I walked outside and through this back gate, I don't know if anybody, I'm sure people that I'm speaking to, somebody has been to the state mortuary. There were just bodies of dead people lying on the ground. You must understand, these are bodies of people who have families. It was just bodies of people lying on the ground, on a cement ground, not tiled or anything, a cement ground. And there was a guy standing with a hose pipe, hosing off these bodies. It's an image that I'll never ever get from my mind. I mean, people wouldn't believe it if I just told them. It's the honest truth. They were hosing off these bodies, and as I stood there waiting for them to find Susan, they went back inside. She was they had to bring her from inside because this took 2 weeks. This took 2 weeks for me to find Susan. So Susan had been there for 2 weeks already. Susan had been in the mortuary fridge for 2 weeks. It obviously took them some time to prepare her as best they could, because they had to put her on a trolley to bring her out to me. They put her on one of those trolleys and they brought her out for me to identify. There was no mistake in it. It was her. Susan had a small scar on her face that I recognized immediately. A small scar by her lip as well. She had a tooth in the back of her mouth that was skewed, that I recognized straight away. Look, it wasn't. I totally broke down. I didn't totally break down at that time. I put my hand on her. I touched her arm, and her arm was cold and hard as rock. It felt like marble. It was smooth and hard. Still, because she had been in the freezer, it's like ice had started melting. So I felt her like that, and then once I touched her, I broke into tears. I cried. We said all along, live by the sword, die by the sword. The type of life we led, even Susan more than me, the type of life she led, the type of people she had met and had seen and had been with. What are the chances? So that it was inevitable. I think I didn't get us out of the life when I should have. I've never been stupid, so I'm sure all along I must have known that ultimately something like this had to happen. Funny enough, look, after I broke down, we left there, and Clint took me back to Joburg Gen. But funny enough, all the years trying to get out of Yilbra and leaving, and I think it could have been Clint as well. That asked me, what's it going to take to get me out of there? Oh, it was my brother, and the answer was simple. The answer was, one of us has to die. Susan has to die, or I have to die. But together we'll never leave, or together we'll never stop the addiction, the route that we were traveling. And unfortunately, that was half true. One of us had to die. Susan never wanted me to meet her parents. Susan was an abused child. She had been on the street from about 12 years old. She never wanted me to meet her parents for some reason. And yet, when she was pregnant, she would phone her mom. I would hear the conversation. She would phone her mom and her dad, and every single time, she'd phone about once a week or once every 2 weeks, and every time she'd phone, she'd remind them that she's pregnant. And I can imagine all she was crying out for was a congratulations, So I knew the type of people they were, because they never congratulated her. They were never there for her. They never cared for her. They never tried to get her out of that life. She was young. She was a baby, man. She was a baby. Susan passed away in 2002. She was born in 1976. Susan was only 26 years old when she passed. There's a lot that could have still been done for her. They should have been there more for her. Just a little bit of background, what Susan had told me, what brought on her life of addiction, is when Susan was 11, she was left at home to look after her baby brother. I think he was 4. And while doing the washing and looking after her baby brother, he ran out the house. And she was busy with the washing. And unfortunately, he happened to run into the road and get struck by a car. And her brother was killed. Apparently, yes, he was killed in the accident. And her mom and her dad and her brothers, they forever blamed her because she was not watching him. But she was an 11-year-old girl that was meant to do the washing and clean the house and look after her baby brother. I don't think that she should have been blamed. And then she told me that it became a matter of they were allowed to just hit on her then, her brothers, whenever they wanted to. So if they just walked past her, they would punch her or hit her unconscious. Nobody in the house would do anything. And this is the reason that she left. This is the reason that she ran away from home and ended up on the streets. So my heart did go out to her, and my heart does go out to her. Susan has a very cruel, unhappy life. I should have done better by her. Even if we were not good together, I should have done better by her and got her out, got myself out. We had more than enough chances. We had more than enough people trying to help us at different times in our lives through that relationship. I really should have. I'll have to die with that regret and die with that knowledge that I failed her. Because I really did. So young and so beautiful, so carefree. I can't say much except that it still hurts today knowing what happened to that poor girl. I don't really have all the information. I don't remember exactly how I came by all the information. I know there was a detective, Bruce, that set up an appointment with me. I can't tell you how it came about. Did it go through Clint? Did it come through the hospital? Did he come up there to see me? I seem to have blocked it all out, or I was too high and it never went into my memory. But I can't remember. But I know there was a detective, Bruce, that came to me, took a statement from me, and then said that they are going to do the investigation and will come back to me with what has happened, if they find anything. I see this video is already 13 minutes long, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But I'm going to go on for a while. So at some stage, Clint found a place for me to stay. I wanted to get out of Hillbrow then. He found a place for me to stay at a place called, I don't remember the name, but it was in Rosettenville, and it was for destitute people to live. I don't know if he had to pay or how that worked. He never let me on to any of that, but he did find me a place, and he picked me up one day in Hillbrow and he took me through to this place. I was very uncomfortable. I wasn't used to being alone. I always had somebody to fall back on. So it was hard. The first couple of days were hard, but they had a church going on in there, a little house church that they used to sit and read and preach a little bit, sing a couple of hymns at night. I was given a room at the back where I could stay. So I started trying to go through recovery there. It was for the first week or 2 weeks, first 10 days, I could not sleep at all. I used to battle to sleep. I used to lay on their bed and I used to cry. I used to cry myself through the whole night. Then I used to try and sleep. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, still awake. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, still awake. every day at about 8 or 9 o'clock, when the sun just started coming up, I used to manage to get about an hour or 2 hours sleep. um, I could never sleep for about 10 days. And also in that place, just thinking back now that it also just came to me, while I was in that place, while I was in Yilbrow with Susan, when Susan was alive, Susan found a tikkie, which is a third of a cent coin. It was back from my mother's day, a tikkie. She found it and she gave it to me for good luck. And I kept it. I had it for a long time, man. I kept it. I used to put it in my shoe, and I kept it for a long time. It became like a lucky charm, superstitious. And I kept it. But eventually I lost it. And one of these nights, sitting in this room, crying, because at this time I had started praying because I needed help. I started praying, so I was praying every night, asking forgiveness and asking for help, and to get me through what I'm going through. But then, the one night, sitting there praying, there's a little desk inside the room. I was sitting there praying, and I looked down, and there was a tikkie, a third of a cent, on the table. Now you must know, how many tikkies have you seen in your life? How many? I knew what a tikkie was because my mother had showed me. But to find one twice, it's a little bit uncanny. So I obviously used that and said, it's Susan. Susan was watching over me. Susan was making sure I'm okay. So that brought me a little bit of comfort. Still didn't help me sleep. I still battled with the withdrawals, but I got through them. When I was about 2 weeks clean, I started making calls to old friends. Nobody would really take the calls though, but I started making calls to old friends, trying to get I don't know, just to get hold of my friends again and maybe turn my life around and start getting work and things like that. And I eventually got hold of a friend of mine, Michael. Michael and myself have been friends from a year old. So we've been friends now for 53 years. He's been through most of the times that I've been through. He's been there. He's listened to my stories, and he's helped where he could. He's been a lot of help. Michael and Clint have been a lot of help. And after all this time, I just happened to remember his home number, his landline number, and I phoned it and I got hold of his dad. And I spoke to his dad a while. His dad was surprised to hear from me, because it also had been a couple of years since I'd seen Michael. I mean, Michael was before Susan's time, before my addiction time. So it had been a while. And he promised to relay the message on to Michael to give me a call, which he did. And Michael gave me a call back. He gave me a call back, and he said he'll come and see me. He made promises to come and see me. I think that was a Friday. He said he's busy the weekend, he'll come Monday, because I remember stressing that entire weekend. That he's not going to come, because I really wanted him to come and visit. I really wanted to see him. Alright, I'm gonna stop this video now. It's a little bit too long. I don't want anybody to get too tired. It's an important part of my story. I'll make this book 9 and book 9.1. You can read the rest. I'm also going to just gather myself, and then we'll continue. But thanks again for watching. Thanks for listening to this part of my life. I'll tell you more about what happened to Susan when we come back, when I heard from the detective. Thanks again. See you soon.